Yeah, I should really make that video. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Hard to believe it's been a little over 2 years since I last made a video about this model. And for those of you who don't know, this is my 1/72nd scale Revell Type IXC U-boat that I've converted to RC. Now, in the first video that I posted about this project, I had literally just put the two hull pieces together and showed you what kind of space was available inside. But as you can see, the model has been painted since then and has undergone its maiden voyage and many other successful runs, which I have a lot of footage of and I can't wait for you guys to see. Now, a really big thank you for those of you who have stayed in touch with the channel, either by commenting or asking me questions on when the second part of the video would be here. But I can assure you that I've been very busy with many other projects since then. So I know you've all been waiting to see what's going on inside. So let's crack the deck open and let me show you the watertight cylinder. All right, so here we have the watertight cylinder on the workshop bench. And I just want to start with the stern section here because I think this is quite interesting. Within the hobby, this is known as a brushless in the wet system. What I mean by that is that these are two brushless outrunner motors that are commonly found on RC airplanes and RC drones that are mounted on the outside of the rear end cap. Now, compared to brush motors, which need to be sealed within a dry compartment, a brushless system is perfectly fine underwater, provided that the user lubricates the motor bearings after every run during the routine maintenance. And compared to brushed motors, which have brushes being exposed to the elements, which do get corroded over time, brushless motors don't have such a thing. So these are perfectly fine just running in the water like so. And you can see that connected to the motor shaft are these Lego universal joints that I've used to connect the motors to the propeller shafts. The reason for this is because the distance, or the space between the motor shaft and the inner hull of the U-boat is very tight. So you can't fit, you cannot use universal joints that are too thick in this case, and these Lego ones just happen to fit. But I had to do some slight modification to get them to be mounted onto the motor shaft there. Also visible on the dry stern compartment are the two ESCs, one for each brushless motor, and these have to be reprogrammed because originally they were meant to be used for RC airplanes, which means that they lack the reverse function that's required for model submarines and model boats. Inside there, we can also see the two servos that are used to drive the rudder and the stern dive planes. Moving to amidships here, this is probably the most interesting part of this whole WTC design. And within RC submarines, this is known as a snort ballast system. So it mimics very realistically how a real submarine works in real life. Because when the submarine is sitting on the surface, this whole ballast tank is actually acting as a diving bell. So you can see here on the bottom, there we have some holes for water to enter. Now, when the boat is sitting on the surface, obviously air inside the tank has nowhere to escape, so water can't enter either. To dive the boat, a servo, you can see here in black there, actuates a series of linkages, which then makes this vent valve go up like so. I'm just gonna get the camera closer. You can see there's an O-ring there. It looks like a little plunger. So when this vent valve is moved up and disengaged from the ballast tank, air escapes, water enters, the boat dives very much like a real submarine. To surface, we use this little tiny air pump there to pull air through this snorkel tube, which is connected to the periscope in the conning tower, to get air inside, which then gets compressed and expelled inside the tank, pushing out the water and surfacing the boat. Now, this air pump has been the source of some problems that I've encountered with this implementation, because for one thing, I found that this pump is actually very slow at surfacing the boat. For the first few surfacing runs, it surfaces the boat in about 30 seconds or so, which is acceptable. But I found that as I dive the boat more and more, water tends to get into the air intake tube there and into the system. And what happens is, as the water pump is working to surface the boat, pull air inside, well, it first has to expel all the water that's inside the whole tube, the whole plumbing here. And that really slows down the surfacing operation. So much so that I think towards the end of each run, it actually takes almost more than a minute to surface the submarine, which is really slow for my liking. The second reason that I don't really like the system is because, well, as I found out before recording this video, this air pump is completely rusted. That's right. It was advertised as being waterproof, but obviously it isn't. During the 2022 and 2023 summers that I ran this boat, this air pump performed perfectly fine. But as we're in 2024, when I tried to fire up the cylinder for a test before running the boat, well, I found out that this motor is completely rusted, refuses to run, and when I pulled the pump apart, I found a lot of rust around the motor shaft. So obviously, some water got into the whole pump housing. Nothing inside the dry compartment, mind you. So I think it's really a problem with the pump there. Within the forward compartment, you can see I actually have the battery that's sitting underneath. Quite a beefy battery for this size of boat. It's a 5,000 milliamp hour 7.2 volt nickel metal hydride pack. Made it to a standard 7.75 megahertz radio system. And you can see from the front that I actually don't have a front dive plane linkage system. So for this boat, the front hydroplanes are set completely fixed in the horizontal position, which I find to be, it doesn't really affect the pitch control of the boat too much. So I'm going to mount this submarine back into the hull and show you guys what kind of space is available inside. Okay, so here we have the WTC mounted inside the hull. And as you can see, space is quite tight for this model. Keep in mind that I am using a 2.5 inch Lexan tubing for the WTC. So with these dimensions, it doesn't leave me much room for the flotation foam between the WTC and the U-boat hull. But luckily, I was able to cram some foam in there to achieve the right trim. So moving on to the back there, you can see the universal joints that I mentioned previously, connecting the motors to the propeller shafts. And on top, we have the linkage rods for the rudder and the diving planes. What's interesting here is I tried to replicate the double bell crank system that's found on real Type 7 and Type 9's U-boats controlling the rudders. You can see that these are connected to a common bell crank, which is connected to a linkage rod feeding to the inside of the dry compartment. As I mentioned before, at the front there we only have the snorkel intake tube there feeding air into the system, and the front dive planes are fixed in this design. And from the footage that I will show you very shortly, you see that there's really not that much effect with having the front diving planes being fixed. The boat is perfectly fine diving and surfacing with just the rear control surfaces being actuated. So coming back to the front compartment here, what will I do with this broken pump? Well, the easy thing would be to just swap it out with the identical one, and I have quite a few in my inventory, but I think I'd rather just maybe redesign this whole ballast system to swap to my favorite water pump system that I've used in all of my other RC submarines. The store system has been quite interesting to see working and implement. It was quite a good challenge getting this vent system set up and working. But I think, until I find a air pump that's really watertight, I don't know if I want to keep relying on this system for this particular boat. Of course, with mounting a smaller battery and reorganizing some things within this compartment, hopefully I can get a different pump inside, either a water pump or an air pump, we will see, and get this cylinder back to running order. But for now, I'm sure you're all waiting to see some running footage of the boat. So without further ado, let's go to the water. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I know it was a long time coming, and a really big special thanks to my friends for running their RC submarines alongside me. I know summer is just beginning here, and I have a lot more RC submarine videos planned that's to come. As always, remember to like and subscribe to support the channel, and we'll see you in the next one.